Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's Modern Investing on Pod TV. My name is Sasha Star. Our guest today is Jim Eid from Eid Foundations. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Sasha. Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, as always, my pleasure. And we are still at very uncertain market, highly manipulated market by war or no war in Iran, the upcoming IPO of SpaceX, and many other events. So sometimes, if you don't know what to do, do nothing. I think this is probably the best advice. However, when the market is, we are talking about trillions of dollars moving in a day back and forth, you always should be able to find a way to make your couple of $1,000s, but it's not working all the time, unfortunately. So it's very difficult to have the right course of action. What about you, Jim?
Yeah, I think caution is dictated right now because we don't know what Trump is going to do. I just read that he signed a bill to give federal control over the right to vote by mail, and so who knows what that's going to mean. But that's the type of action that he takes, an increasing autocratic society where everything is coming from the top down, and there's been a great transfer of wealth that from people that are everyday U.S. citizens to a very, very top echelon of society, and they are becoming richer and richer. And the rest of society is getting hit a little bit harder, squeezed a little bit tighter. Um, and so I think they're going to take their frustrations out at the polls. And Trump knows that, so he's taking severe action to try to control the votes. We see that in the gerrymandering that's going on. Pardon me.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And I think that this latest thing that he's doing to try to control mail-in votes, I think these are acts of desperation. But you can't put anything by him. And I think what's going to go on with the war of choice that he started with Iran, he's going to have to declare victory by allowing the Strait of Hormuz to be open, which it was before he declared war. And I think that these types of things, he's going to do in order to try to win or stay in power, basically, which is what tyrants always do. And so what effect on that market is those types of actions, because they're political decisions designed to keep him in power and keep people that support him in power. What is that going to do to the market? Well, there's two things that are going on. There's been that transfer of wealth, but it's also been a transfer of stock power to the AI sector primarily. And that has meant that they're still reporting record revenues. And so if you're investing in those companies, you don't have anything to worry about. AMD, for example, did a pivot to AI, and they're up over 200% year to date. It's astonishing. Intel, which was a dusty old chip company from the 90s, is now done the same pivot. They're up 80%. Marvel has doubled in its price. Semiconductors that support these AI companies, and the companies that are going to build the data centers that these AI companies need to support their activities. These companies that are involved in that are going to be reporting record profits. So there's still money to be made in the market,
Absolutely.
even
Agree.
even without even with the uncertainty that the Trump presidency brings. So be careful, be cautious, of course, and but invest in the sectors that are still doing well, regardless of what Trump is doing.
So it's a strategy of buy high and sell higher.
One time on this show, you told us that that somebody was making an awful lot of money by buying stocks when they hit their record highs, and
Yeah,
if you'd done that with AMD this year, you would have been very well rewarded.
absolutely. MD did spectacularly well. I had it for a very short period of time, and I sold, of course, too early, as it's so often.
Yes, yeah. The sell too early. That's because I've been selling along the way. I still have uh, a decent amount of AMD stock, but I remember selling first at 130 and thinking, man, this is like the highest price I'm ever going to see AMD at. Well, it hit 200.
Oh,
I
so
was
far,
so
so far.
tickled to sell at 130.
So today is semiconductors is number one game in town, followed by all AI, supercomputers, quantum computing stocks are doing well. So
Yep.
if you are in that segment of the market, you should do very well. And the problem is if it's reversing and it's going down, is it again buy on the deep strategy or get out strategy?
Right.
What's the right way to treat it?
The people have been talking about an AI bubble for a couple of years now. I don't see it happening. I said 2 years ago that I didn't see it happening. I still don't see it happening because the record revenues that they're reporting are are an example of the growth and the growth potential. There's still growth potential, but the growth is reflected by the revenues. It's not made up numbers. It's not a future scenario like with SpaceX, for example. They have just stories to tell you. They don't have revenues. So
SpaceX, I don't understand one thing. The company has been around since 2002, so it has 24 hours track record. So why now? Why they wouldn't do IPO, say, 5 years ago or 5 years from now? Why now? What's
uh,
point?
because if I invested in 2002, I want to see my money. And so when it goes IPO, those early investors are going to get paid. But are
So
the
it's
people that buy now when it goes IPO, are they going to get paid?
so
That's the
is it
great.
to bail out early investors? Is that
Yes, yes, yes. Go ahead, buy it, make them happy. But I would not play that game. Don't
yeah,
make the rich richer. Yeah.
yeah, that's why they were talking about to get investors in a mood for this SpaceX IPO. They were talking about Micron Technology. Stock is what, 850, about that. So they were putting numbers that the real value of Micron Technologies $1,625. So anyway, who can buy it now under $1,000 would run and buy as many shares as possible, and on the way to 1625, even where it's happening, they would make tons of money. So either they will not make tons of money, and it's uh, stock market specialists and promoters will make a lot of money, or they indeed will make a lot of money and invest this money right into SpaceX IPO. So maybe that's the game that's being played right now.
Well, there's also the thing that I did with Nvidia, which is I bought it relatively low. It wasn't cheap, but it was relatively low, and I sold it when I hit my target price. But it kept going up, so I sold too early, and but then it was too expensive for me to buy as much as the number of shares that I normally buy. But then they split, and when they
Yeah,
split, the price was reasonable again, so I bought it again, and I've been writing looking at it, continue to report record earnings and continue to stock price continues to go up. It's down a little tick. No, I just looked at, yeah, down a little tick today, but it's been a steady growth with occasional dips, but mostly it's going in the right direction. So, and I don't see that changing. I don't see why that would change. Um, recently there's been some pushback, and there's always the doomsayers that say it's overpriced, but I still think it's very reasonably priced if you wanted to buy it today.
a lot of
AMD, on the other hand, is pretty expensive now.
a lot of doomsayers and short sellers and all kind of people. They're writing against Nvidia, all kind of stuff. That there's growing competition. There is a What about, say, 3 months ago, there wasn't competition? All
Yeah,
of a sudden, last 3 months, there's incredible competition happened. But
no,
where the
no,
competition was 3 months ago?
yeah, it that hasn't changed. And the AI sector, when we were talking about a few years ago, as a booming sector, It's just played out exactly the way we expected it to. But the key is to pick the companies that are going to succeed in this, and that's always the game, right? And it's still the same with the quantum computers. I've dipped my toe in by buying an ETF that invests in them because I haven't been able to pick which companies are going to dominate in the quantum field. But the quantum computing field is upon us.
How
It's
is this
starting.
ETF doing for you?
Pardon me?
How's this ETF doing for you?
Okay, let me just check. I was just on there and I failed to notice. It's doing very well. In the last, let's see, let's pick the last 3 months. It's up 20%.
Wow, it's incredible. What's the name of this ETF?
QPUX. Like we used to talk about CPUs when I was in data processing and IT, and then it was GPUs with the AI because graphics processing units were the key, and now it's quantum. So it's QPU, Quantum Processing Unit X, is the name of the
Oh, it's
ETF.
QPUX.
X.
QPUX. Yeah, I have to look into it because there are quite a few companies. It's very difficult to investigate where one is better than another one and what
Right.
different between them or so on. It's not easy task. So
Right.
maybe you're right that just to buy ETF and it will
Well,
just carry you.
that was the easy way out for me. When it was the AI sector, I felt a little bit more knowledgeable, and I picked Taiwan Semiconductors, Marvell, early on,
Very
and
good, very good choices.
that you're urging, I ended up with Nvidia, and that really paid dividends for me. Um, you were an early buyer of Nvidia, and well, I'm not saying like when it went public, but you were the first that I had heard of speaking its praises, and even when it was being told at the time that it was overpriced, and it just kept growing, kept
Yeah.
being.
The most interesting thing is that if you take just earnings and the predictions, and Nvidia is head and shoulders above anybody else. Nobody comes even close to numbers what Nvidia shows. Yet their stock is not doing spectacularly well.
Right.
As usual, after earnings are going down,
Yeah.
and then they're down for yet few weeks. Then the August earnings, when it will start getting a little bit closer there, they may show some signs of life. So uh, I'm reluctant to sell. I sold some of it, but core position, I still have it in my fund portfolio. And I defend this position by selling calls, covered calls. And the premiums are spectacular. So I have no hesitation to hold on to NVIDIA. Oh, I'm losing now some money on it. But just to give you an example, for example, what I sold a while ago, I sold NVIDIA July 17th to 10 calls. NVIDIA now is to 11 or so, right? So I got for each call $19.20. It's $1,920 for each call. Um, So this way, I'm quite protected, even if it will go down to $190 or even 80. I'm protected. And then I sold other calls, but later, so my premiums were not that great. I sold June 26, 210 calls, and I got for each call $9.60. That's $960 for each call. So again, it gives me protection, say close to $10. So stock can go for $190, and I will be still in the money. So this is kind of a peculiar way to defend your position, I guess.
Well, not peculiar at all. I think it's wise to hedge like that. And, I don't particularly do it myself. So do what I say, not what I do. But, it's a smart way to protect yourself from long-term losses. And what goes up must come down, as they say. But I don't see any reason to believe that. Now, the thing is that this does not mean that we're talking about a sector that is still booming and still growing. And that isn't true for the rest of the market. There are a lot of companies out there that are struggling. And but what's worse is that there are a lot of small businesses that are suffering. They're the ones that are feeling the pinch. Higher gas prices, and all a direct result of the war of choice in Iran. All delays the rest of the reason was just the Trump's whim. Trump did it, and you know against the military advisors, so he fired them and replaced them with people that would not give him as much resistance to doing it. And these oil prices, these rises, get reflected at the gas pumps, but it also gets reflected into the cost of groceries because how to get the groceries to the stores to sell them is more expensive.
Yeah, unless you will do it by bicycles.
Right.
You should go right.
Maybe in Amsterdam they're still doing it that way. I don't know.
Yeah. So maybe that's what's going to be popular in the United States, bicycles.
Bicycles. Okay. Yeah. Invest in the bicycle makers.
That's right. So there will be. Actually, if you think about it, electric bikes,
Yes.
they should be quite useful in this situation.
I see them more and more, and there's more and more outrage about traffic problems that they're causing. So it's one of the things that because you have an electric bike, you can go faster than a normal cyclist can go, and you can weave in and out. And so people, I think it's just an adjustment we're going to have to get used to. Adjustments have to be made. Because I think the electric bike is a very intelligent choice for so many people. Yeah, it's not appropriate for everyone, but for lots and lots of people, it's a very good way to get from point A to point B. Not for cross country trips or something perhaps like that, but still, there's a place in society and it's growing. And I live in the Silicon Valley, so it may not be what I'm seeing, may not be going across the country. But it's a growing phenomenon here.
Jim, speaking about SpaceX IPO, I think we are saved from any market calamity until June 12th. So you can now actually buy almost any stock, especially semiconductors and quantum, just almost anything, and you're secure until June 12th. Don't you think so?
Interesting. But the people that know what Trump is going to do before the public knows, they're the ones that are going to profit the most, and that's been going on. I don't think we've had a more corrupt administration. The president and his family have profited enormously from the presidency. But one of the things that's depressing to me is he'll go and meet with Putin, and he'll go to meet with North Korean dictator Kim, and they'll talk about them falling in love. He'll go to China, and he'll talk about them becoming friends. It's all a personal kind of relationship with him, and he doesn't understand he's the leader, and maybe not now, maybe not ever again, but formerly the leader of the free world. And he's representing so much more. It's not a transactional one-on-one thing. It's not a deal between you and this other guy. It's one country's interests versus another country's interests and finding common ground.
There is one peculiar thing about his war against Ukraine, which he started, and this is disastrous war by now because Ukrainians are taking over. And it's interesting that much bigger, stronger country attacks much smaller country, and the bigger country has a nuclear arsenal. And look at what's happening right now. But maybe he should have learned from the United States, who attacked Vietnam and Iraq and Afghanistan and now Iran. And supposedly they should easily win any and all of these wars. They don't.
Well, it was also Putin's. He amassed these forces in Belarus, and he thought he was going to march on Kiev and take it, and it would be over in a couple months. Well, how many years later? It's still going on, and he's no closer to any kind of. No, he can't declare peace with honor, as Nixon once famously did.
It's
Uh,
very interesting that it's the fifth year of war, and he had to phone Trump, ask Zelensky to have a military parade on May 9th, so Zelensky would not attack Moscow on these days. And Zelensky said, okay, you're allowed to hold the parade. Unheard of thing. And now,
your great military strength.
and now Iran is coming up with more and more incredible demands on the United States, almost like if Iran won the war, and they're talking about U.S. capitulation and terms and conditions and so on. And all U.S. really wants is to reopen Strait of Hormuz, but the Strait of Hormuz was open before the war started. So what America gained from this war?
Absolutely nothing, except now they've made Iran stronger. They killed their aged leader, and but they didn't affect the regime change, which was the
No, far from it.
Yeah. And so what's going to happen is that the Strait of Hormuz will open again, but Iran will be able to charge tolls.
Yeah, that's right.
So they will be making money every time someone else, another Arab Arabian country, wants to ship oil through it. They will pay a toll to do so. So that wasn't going on before, but we'll see that afterwards.
In addition to that, now Iran wants to consider all these cables, fiber cables, and telegraph cables, and everything on which are running through its territorial waters to charge for it, make money this way. In a way, it's kind of compensation for the damages that the U.S. and Israel inflicted on Iran. Oh, you can understand that, but this is.
There will be reconstruction costs, because there was a tremendous amount of damage.
So then, how it improved the U.S. and Israel standing in this war, its economies. It's very, very difficult.
So he's depleted our missile stockpile, which will be an enormous cost to replenish. And he also just demonstrated that he couldn't protect the U.S. bases that are in the Arabian countries around him there. So the Arabian countries are going, hey, you can't protect your own bases, you can't protect us. So we've lost some standing in that area in terms of our military might. So he's done everything that could make the enemies of the United States happy.
Jim, but there's something else. I've heard a few days ago congressional hearings on a Pentagon budget. So they're asking for $500 billion here and $800 billion for that as replenish stockpiles. And one congressman questioned Hackett, and he said that, okay, a year ago, you had this 12 years of 12 days war. And you declared that Iranian military capabilities are obliterated. So now, a few months later, you started a new war. So, and you are asking for trillions of dollars to fix the stockpiles and this one. But tell me, was their military obliterated a year ago? If it's so, why did you start this war?
Yes.
Now, if it is not obliterated, then you were lying. Or you're lying now. What's the story?
Which one is it? Yeah.
It doesn't add up.
No, of course not. No, and it's when it comes to signing a peace, we trust the Iranian word more than we trust the White House, because the White House has been telling us all along that it's imminent, and but we're going to get the best deal. We're not going to settle for a bad deal. And Iran's been saying that it's not imminent, and it hasn't happened. And so how many times can they come to us and say it's just around the corner? And, oil prices will drop and the market will go up and, people believe it. And then it doesn't happen and oil prices go back up and the market drops. And so this is a profound effect on an investor. But one of these days we're going to say, listen to what Iran is telling us. If Iran is telling us it's imminent, that's when it's imminent, not when the White House tells us. You can't trust what they tell us.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. It's a catastrophic situation. And I'm just curious if it's not going to get worse than that. And I saw one documentary about Pentagon, and it shows some lobsters and steaks are being flown, and they have this fantastic dinners or so on. And I'm questioning if Pentagon is using money in the right direction. So they're using technology of um 20th century, where Ukraine shows a new technology, how the new war is being fought. And
Yeah.
instead of learning it from Ukraine, because Ukrainians, they will have $1.5 trillion budget, you know how many drones they would produce.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a modern warfare, and today's warfare is not the warfare of Vietnam. Nothing like it. The drones are the way to go. So
Absolutely.
they're not piloted by human beings. There's no human cost. There is a cost, of course, but and whether or not they can accurately target the correct target rather than do civilian damage and that sort of thing. That's been tragic in some cases, but it's also part of the learning process that they're going through. But we're not perfecting that technology.
Jim, there is one more thing that this war with Iran, it showed some vulnerabilities of U.S. Air Force. For example, just yesterday, Iranians shot down one U.S. aircraft, and they showed to all over the world F-35, and it was almost just you should have activate your gadget and you would hit F-35, but they decided not to. But they showed the picture that it was on a radar all over the world. And what's happening now with in this respect is, for example, India, they are buying several warplanes from France. Rafale, I think is the name. Very big orders worth tens of billions of dollars. And Canada is now no longer buying F-35. They're buying Gripen, Sweden Saab manufacturing plane, which is perhaps maybe it's not as good as F-35, perhaps, but it's way much cheaper. It's much easier to do maintenance. They don't need American maintenance, and furthermore, Sweden offered Canada to have a joint production on the Canadian territory, so they will supply not only Canadian needs, but also all, I believe, Northern European countries, like Scandinavian and some others.
This is what happens when countries work together. Everyone can benefit. And when you're an isolationist, like under this administration, it's America first, America only. And the United States is separating itself from the cooperative spirit that had been built in previous administrations, where everyone you can have agreements with them for mutual defense, for example, and you have some trust based developed over time, and that trust can be lost like that. And I believe we've lost that trust thanks to this administration.
Yeah, because people who believe in exceptionalism of the U.S. look at what's happening with the outer pact between the U.S. and Canada. It's up for renegotiations in the next few weeks, and now tons of China-made electric cars are coming to Canada.
Yeah,
So
it's a great
Canada is
example.
no longer depending on the U.S. in car manufacturing. And U.S., by the way, manufactures a lot of cars for their needs in Canada because it's cheaper and very efficient productions. But Canada It seems to me that Canada is waiting for American to get away from Canada with their manufacturing, because instead they will be manufacturing Chinese electric cars. And I looked at them. They're fantastically made cars.
Yeah.
And in price, they're from the cheapest $30,000 up to $155,000. So,
Yeah, and if you're an American citizen, U.S. citizen, you cannot buy it.
yeah, so you get stuck with your Chevrolet and some other models.
Yeah.
It's quite pathetic. But listen, we have to go through all that. There's no choice. In the meantime, we have to be careful in the market. Preservation of capital is still number one
Preservation of capital.
here. Yeah, as I always said.
Even if your purchasing power is hit by the inflation, that's
Yeah. But we'll see. Jim, thank you very much for today's program, and we'll see you next week, same place, same time.
Thanks again, Sasha.
Bye-bye, everybody.